The snowflake method of novel writing. Um, Touched on this in an earlier video. Okay, so recap. Step 1, come up with one sentence to summarize your book. Step 2, come up with a paragraph around that sentence. Now, before I said step 3, we were going to come up with something else, but let's make step 3 characters. So now you've got a sentence summarizing your book. You've got a paragraph summarizing your book. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to figure out in that paragraph, in order for those things to happen, who is doing those things? Your characters, right? Now, my typical practice is to start off with 6 major and 6 minor. It leaves me 12. And the one, well, recently I've been toying around with the idea that, and I've used it a couple of times, that that one can be the beginning of the subplot and your subplot characters. You just have to find who that is. Let's skip that for now. So you're at sentence, paragraph, and let's say your paragraph involves a judge who is, like I said, my first sentence, a judge is blackmailed and then he and his family are hunted. So that's the first sentence of my paragraph. In the rest of the paragraph, I'm going to talk about his blackmail, his family, his hunting, and the end. These are very important points. That right there makes it 5 sentences. You want to have it between 5 and 7 sentences. So at that point, you've got a paragraph. You're listening to yourself think about these characters. Okay, so think about it. Who we got? We got the judge. We got his wife. We got his kids. What else is going on? Well, who's blackmailing him? You got some major characters there. You've got a mob boss of some kind. You've got some foot soldiers. Not necessarily using them as foot soldiers. These are people we're going to create here. So you've got a list at the end of that. You've got 6 major characters and 6 minor characters, and 1 we're going to say for a subplot. Okay, so at that point, what you're going to do is you're going to develop your characters. This is the first time you do it. This is really the aha moment for me, anyway, that I had first time I did this. The characters you're going to take and write 1 page on each on how they're going to evolve or change throughout the course of the story, and you figure out why along the way, which gives you a little better idea of the plot, but you're not putting that down in concrete vision yet. So after you do that page for each of the major and minor characters, you gotta flip that sheet over. I want you to split that page in half, okay, and in 1 line, I want you to do something. You're going to name his wife, the judge. You're going to name his kids and their ages. You're going to give his wife an age. Probably doesn't like it. You're going to figure out, anything you want. What kind of toothpaste does he use? How much does he have left on his loan for his mortgage? What kind of house does he have? Where does he live? What's his favorite food? You get the point. The point of that being, I wouldn't suggest talking about underwear size, but you could talk about his wife's panties. That seems to sell. But anyway, it's basically you're going to have the details with which, say you're at a point in the story and you got 2 people standing there and they're 2 characters. What are they going to talk about? They're making small talk like everybody else does. What are they going to talk about? You don't have the details to make these characters real. So that's step 4. So now what we're going to do, you have a deeper understanding of the plot due to the fact that you have expanded into a paragraph, found out who the characters were, and figured out what they're doing in this story just by the way in which they need to change. And then you made a bunch of details about them, so you sort of know your characters, but you don't have written exactly what goes on. So here we are. This is step 4. Step 4, you're going to take that paragraph and do the same thing that I said before, which is take each sentence of that paragraph and write it. Okay, now expand each of those sentences, make each of those the topic sentence of your paragraph. You're going to end up with something that is roughly, mine usually end up between 4 and 6 pages. You want to try and keep it to 5 to 7 in each paragraph, 5 to 7 sentences in each paragraph, but okay, where am I? Oh yeah, so the next step there is an interesting thing. In step 5, what I do, let's see, I'll make sure. Sentence 1, paragraph 2, characters 3. Oh, step 4 is the details of the characters. So step 5 is where you take each sentence of that paragraph you have and turn them each into paragraphs. Okay, so step 5. Now step 6, in step 6 what I do is, this is my own method. Step 6, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each one of those paragraphs that you have in the 4 to 6 pages that you should have after expanding on your initial paragraph based on your initial sentence, which each one of these steps will take longer and longer as you go forward, but the more times you do them, they'll be shorter and shorter. So what you're going to do now is pretty obvious. You're going to take every sentence of every paragraph in the 4 pages and expand them into a paragraph. Now you're looking at a real story. Now you're looking at a story that has some meat. It's got characters. It's got what the characters are like, what size underwear they wear, and where they went to kindergarten, and how good they did, and what they like to do for their hobby. Okay, so now we know characters. The big thing we want to work on now, from the flow of that, you are going to make a plot map or a scene chart. Now your average book that's going to sell bestseller, your average bestseller, is somewhere between 40,000 and 60,000 words. Okay, actually 60,000. Strike that. I just had a brain hemorrhage. Brain fart, sorry. So what you're going to do here is you're going to take and make a spreadsheet. I don't do it on the computer. None of this has been done on the computer so far. It's all handwritten because it's so easy to write it. You don't have to worry about the technicalities, the font, all of that stuff that's going to happen automatically for you when you read it. If you want to store this stuff, you can take it and you can read it into that speech-to-text thing that I was talking about. And of course, you're going to have to do the editing on it. But if you really want to save a digital copy of it, that's the way if you're working with your phone. Pen, paper, and cell.blogspot.com. So what you're doing on this next one is making a spreadsheet. I use graph paper. Extend the lines. Now your headers, the things that are making your columns are at the top are going to be, hold on a minute. I had an extra one here. How many pages I think this scene is going to take. Okay, so you've got setting, plot, characters, and that's pretty much, oh yeah, and setting, characters, plot. Oh, I'm having a brain hemorrhage again. Setting, characters, plot. I think that's all I'm using these days. So anyway, okay, perfect example here. Okay, the first scene, you're going to number that over on your rows. Your first scene, and typically your book is going to take you around 100 scenes. It's also this method is also very good for adapting and turning it into a screenplay. So each row is going to have settings. So you've got the judge. Where is he? He's in court. It's the setting is court, the courtroom, at the courthouse. The characters, you've got the judge, you've got the plaintiff, you've got the lawyer. Now, some of these people aren't necessarily characters you're going to keep. You're not your 6 major or 6 minor. This is something which you want to limit your involvement with these characters as far as what they're doing in the story and how much. You just want to keep it brief with those. Okay, so you've got setting, you've got characters, and plot. What happens? Well, the judge receives something from the bailiff. He looks at it. He's being blackmailed. He does something, in this case, with the plaintiff that he wouldn't normally do. However, he doesn't cave into it. Okay, there's your plot. You can sum that up quickly because you're going to remember pretty much what's going on due to the fact that you've got about 20 pages written out of the summary of the book. So you kind of know what's going on, but that's your first scene. Setting, plot, characters, and I like to put a number of pages, or how long it's going to be for each scene. So figure you've got 100 scenes. You can go over that. Depends on your own style. Each scene is integral part of the next step. Now, in the snowflake method, they have something I find exhausting. Randy, I believe. Oh God, this is a shame. I can't even remember his name. I know it's not Ingersoll. Ingram. Yeah. So anyway, it was said to take this, what you've got so far. You've got sentence, paragraph. You've got characters and the way they change. You've got the characters' details. Then you've got the expansion of the paragraph into 4 pages. Then you've got your 4 pages expanded into like 16 to 20 pages. And now you've got your 20 pages turned into 100 scenes based on what you've done. You're noticing something here, I hope. This writes itself. At that point, you are about to write the book, and what I was saying before is that you can make another synopsis. You can do a long synopsis. It's not a bad idea, and it's pretty much what your first attempt at the book might be. But basically, I don't do it at this point. In fact, I only did part of one at one point. But you write from there, from the scene chart. You got your scene chart, and you got your 20 pages. You got your characters somewhere around you too, because you're going to need that for your dialogue. So now you just look at the scene chart. Where are you? You're at the courtroom. Who's there? The judge, the plaintiff, and the lawyer, and the bailiff. And what happens? Gets blackmailed by note, makes a decision. There's your first scene. So now you've got 20 pages. And in that first paragraph, there's some information about that first scene, because what you made was an idea based on that first sentence. And the first thing that you talked about was what? A judge gets blackmailed. So you get blackmailed in the first part. Okay, hold on a minute. I gotta get a drink. Okay, so there you go. Now, of course, one of the most important things that prepared me and also caused me the most trouble was sitting down and writing about my life. Just simply do it. Write your own life down, because it's going to remind you of a lot of things that you know and a lot of experiences that you've had. Having had these experiences, you need to what? Collect them. So how do you collect them? You don't need to make an outline. You're not going to psychoanalyze yourself, and if you are, I'm kind of scared, and I hope you don't email me. Excuse me. But the first thing you do is sit down and make a map. Start wherever you want. Maybe just throw some note cards together here and there over the course of the day, or notes in your cell. Something comes to mind that happened to you, you write it down. Big thing is to eventually compile a big enough list that you can get a better idea of the chronological events of your life in the way that you see them at that moment. This is a very good thing, and is kind of a self-help thing too. Helps you see where your life has gone and why. Okay, now, so for instance, the Twister experience. Twister experience was one thing. That there are other experiences that you can write about as well. Those are the experiences of your own perception. Perception of time, for instance. Well, I'm not going to go into this because you may or may not believe me, but perception is a big thing. Your perception of your story is going to drive the story. Your perception of your life is going to drive the story. And if you don't have a deeper understanding of the events which have driven your life, you're not going to be able to drive the story. I wrote one of these in 2005 and sent a bunch of them off to my relatives. They all thought it was very disturbing and that there was too much information and they didn't need to know, and it caused a lot of problems for me. And then later on, I added to it. I did some writing, to some beats, did some poetry, did some whacked out psycho stuff with it, slapped it together and called it It. I-T, It. Unfortunately, It is still out there. I would really not want it out there unless I was going to have control over it. But those accounts have been locked and unable to get into for a long time. So, of course, that can continue the process later on for you. Continue to take your inventory of your life. Journaling is a very important thing. Journaling online is a wonderful thing, but only if you can stand the heat. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. If you can't take the bitchin', get out of the witch hunt. If you can't take the witch hunt, then you're probably not going to make it very far, because if you're not doing it right, unless you piss somebody off, you gotta have an opinion. If you don't have an opinion, your reader can't either agree or disagree with you. I've got a golf club in my hand. What is this, a sand wedge? It's a lob wedge. So I was a caddy, for instance. I was a caddy from age 12. At age 12, the bag was bigger than me, but I caddied anyway at White Manor Country Club in Albany, New York. It was a wonderful thing. One day, the caddy master was so kind as to play dealer blackjack and take all of my money. First lesson about caddy shacks. So I continued to caddy until my mid-20s. I got so good that I was caddying for professionals. I caddy for some tour professionals that have done some incredible things. Most of these guys are senior tour now, but some of them aren't, and all of them are good. Nothing like being a professional golf caddy. Golf is a fucking sport that, anyway, you gotta love it, you gotta hate it. These guys, you know, I knew a lot about it. I can hit a ball, you know, and like everybody else in the golf world who's not a professional right now, not like that. These guys can do anything. That was the fun part. And this is something that I can put into the description in my book about being on the golf course with a professional golfer. The thing is with a pro golfer that you can tell them to do something and they'll do it. And that's what they're looking for, to tell you the real thing. That's what they're looking for. So in this story, the judge is playing golf. He's playing with his pro shop pro, the club pro. He's playing with another pro who just came in, who's looking to go to get his thing going on tour, and there's a caddy. What's the caddy? Now this caddy is going to be your subplot. What's going on with him does not necessarily immediately show what's going on in the book. What it does is it shows that you have an idea of how to foreshadow. Now, this foreshadowing is an entirely different section. Okay, so where we were, okay, so you've got a basic idea how to sit down and write a book from beginning to end this way. Now, here's another thing. This is the advanced writing. Now, once you've figured out how to do that process, now what you're going to do is you're going to break each one of the paragraphs of those 20 pages and take the scene chart that you have, and you are going to write a snowflake method, all of the steps that I just did based on all of that information in the story flow. So what I'm saying here is that each and every part of the book that you can recognize has a pattern, what your chapters are going to be. You're going to make it so that each chapter is a stand-alone story, a short story. Brilliant idea for a number of reasons. Your short story, it'll sell right away. Your short story, it's going to have a flow. It's going to connect to the other short story. Your short story will sell. Your short story will make you money. And your short stories added up together will have, each of them at the end, the twist that a short story should have, the pace that will drive the reader to turn the page turner. And each one of these short stories will increase the possibilities of more than one subplot. There's something woven in there that will develop over the period over which you're doing your short stories. So anyway, what you're looking at here is basically a bunch of pictures and photos and videos that I put through filters and ran through quick, and it was a lot of fun. I'm standing here swinging a golf club and thinking I got, how long? I got 27:47. I've got 6 minutes, and yeah. So, recap. First thing you're going to do, write a sentence. Just any sentence. Write it on paper. It's going to take you a day to figure out. It's got to be between 5 and 8 words, and it can't use any names. You don't need names. You need concepts. Who these people are in society. what they're doing with their lives comes in the next step, but that's going to take you a day to figure out after that first day when you got a sentence. Okay, so I do my sentence in about 10 minutes and I do the paragraph in the next 20. I've done it for many books. I've done it for Bad Judgment. I've done it for Going Public. I've done it for The Hollow. The Hollow was wonderful. The Hollow was me lying in a residential hotel bed and cracking up to myself as I saw each scene. I actually cried at the end, like cried pretty damn hard. And that's the one which I'm finishing. It's right here in the column to the right. You can see that these novels, okay, I admit we're done on computer, but they're unfinished, and I'm going to finish them. I'm going to show you how. I've got all that written out too. And the fun part is that we're making a series. It's called Ozenoz Media. So, excuse me, people. So, where was I? Ozenoz Media. Okay, so another thing that's important is your publication. One thing that you're going to find as you put these things out here is also going to limit, like that for The Hollow, Hack to the Chief, and Takes One to Know One, more titles for me. Got one called Apples of Eden. I've got 100-some pages of design documentation for. I got a poetry book. I got a couple of shorts. So anyway, what it's going to do, having this stuff online or publishing it with someone, is it's going to limit your ability time-wise as to getting it published with an official publisher. Most of them want this stuff to be offline for at least 6 months, and they'll deal with as long as you get the rights straight with your short stories. I'm going to check my time here again. How much time we have left? Okay, we got 3 minutes. So, if you can, I want you right now to figure out what the biggest problem in your life is. What are you scared of? What makes you tick? What makes the thrill? What makes you want to overcome? Where does that come from? Everybody's got a different name for it. Destiny, fate, existence, consciousness, God, oversight.